Okay, so by the end of this video you should have a mannequin here that can hit another mannequin and set bits of it to simulate, which is kind of basic, but it needs I need to condition what's hitting what and where, but stuff's actually going on now, and it's going to be a bit less boring from here, and it's going to get a bit more complicated too. So hopefully you enjoy the rest of this tutorial series. Okay, so my daughter's just gone to bed, and I'm going to crack on with this component. First thing I want to do in this video is to go into my third person duplicate here. I'm going to change what I set in the last video. I'm going to make sure that the physics body is now blocking the mesh, and I don't think I changed, no, I didn't need to change this. Make sure that's blocking, and then here, this box, I'm going to change from a physics actor to a block all dynamic collision preset. See, this is probably the one thing that may well need to be customized for your own project, because different people use different collision channels for different objects. So if you want it to simulate once it gets hit by a specific thing, then you need to either separate out the collision channels so that, for instance, bumping into a rock doesn't make your character simulate everywhere, unless that's what you want. So you can control it through that. You can add your own collision channels, but I'm not going to cover that in this tutorial at the moment. So yeah, now I press play, will still overlap and get strings printed when the physics body gets hit, but the captual collision is still blocking the cube. You can jump on it and you can pick up our root bone, which is actually that's another thing I can go in and change quickly while I've noticed it. Is in our component, probably going to want find closest bone here. We're going to open that up, and we're going to want to set required physics asset. That way, bones without a physics asset aren't getting put up. There we go. Look, so we're not pulling up IK bones anymore. We're just getting those hand cubes that are on the default mannequin. Right. Set that up. Next, let's make things simulate and set up a better test than running into a box. First of all, go into our component on the end of that bound overlap event to set simulate all bodies below. Tick new simulate. Plug that bone name in there. Plug this mesh as target. Compile. Now, if we run into this box, our hand goes floppy. The finger's still animated though, because they don't actually have any physics assets, so they can't pick up. They can't be simulated. So we have a floppy wrist but moving fingers. Something I might have to fix later on. Okay, let's make a better way to test this. I've brought in two animations from a different project. Simple little punch. And I put an anim notify on the end of it, which is as easy to do as add notify here. So let's go into the third person animation blueprint. Let's duplicate that so we don't have to edit it and call it example. In here, we're going to add some variables. We're going to add a boolean for is punching. I guess I'm going to another variable here. I'm going to set this to our example character. Name that character cast. Then drag this up to here. We can go into our example character and we're going to cast to third person anim blueprint example. We're going to cast the anim instance of our mesh, and we're going to call out that character. And set the character cast to ourself. And actually, in between here, we're going to promote this to a variable. We'll call this anim cast. Promoting these both to variables means I don't have to keep casting backwards and forwards whenever I want to edit something. I can pick them up and remember them, which is quite a useful little casting like this, and promoting it's quite a useful little practice if you're going to keep reusing these variables, which I will do. Okay, and then I've already brought in left and mouse right button presses, and we're going to, from our anim cast here, we'll get that, and we're going to call punching, set that to true. Back in our animation blueprint, I'm going to call that notify. It's on the animation. Anim notify event. From that, we're going to set this punching to false. Compile that, and then in our anim graph, move over the default state machine. We're going to layered blend per bone. I'm going to get its punching, plug that into there. I'm going to get the left punch animation. I'll just do the left one and then I'll hook the right one up separately afterwards once I know this is working. Okay, and this is going to want to blend from clavicle. Don't know if it's case sensitive or not. Just do it case sensitive anyway. Save. That will set up. I do believe third person character will now. No, what did I forget to do? It's getting a bit late. So we're casting. Anim blueprint. Oh, I know what I didn't do. Set this here to anim blueprint example. Does that do it? Yeah, there we go. He's punching, but he's not stopping. Let's go set that to true. Set that to false. And what else? That wasn't quite right. Delay blend bone. Put that to mesh space rotation. And I'm not going to play with this right now, but this can be played with depending on what kind of animations you're mixing together. And now punch and we stop. Punch and we stop. Okay. Now then, let's go back to our third person example character. And we're going to add on to him, onto the mesh here. We're going to add component, capsule collision. Call this left action. Left hit cap. And go to the viewport here, compile that. We're going to parent socket wants to be and L, and let's not have it quite so big. Bring that half height down, bring the radius down, half height down, and then let's move it a little bit to be on those knuckles a bit better. Which axis? X. So it's going to be -3, 2. Oh no, plus then. That's a bit better. And actually, let's make that 10, and let's make this a little bit shorter and a little bit thinner too. Okay, compile and save. We're going to set this left hit capsule. It's going to generate overlap events. It's going to be, let's set this to custom. Query only, yes, that's right. And it's going to be a world dynamic. We're going to have it ignore everything except from physics bodies, which it will overlap with. Yes, I think that's how I set it up before. Custom, generate overlap events. Should be fine like that. I don't think it needs to have hit events. Okay. So let's make this visible. Let's make this so let's make it so we can see what's happening here. Let's set the hit capsule here as well. Let's make you not so hidden in the game. Let's play. You can see it's attached and is moving with the fist. So if I come out of here and go back to our blueprints, make a child of this example, make an example of this child, and if we open him up and we want to set this to disabled, placed in world of spawn, that might become relevant in future. And I think that's all I need to do to him, because he's just going to follow whatever the parent's doing. So I can now drag him out, pop him there. Let's see if I can get his. If I punch him, he prints a string for me. Yes, aha, we have a successfully and satisfying punching animation that's currently working and setting things to simulate, and the capsule's working correctly. Okay. Now let's set up the other arm to punch at the same time as the left arm, and then in the next video I'll dive into some quite blueprint heavy simulation, interpolation, and hopefully I'll be able to get quite a lot of it covered in one video, but I'm not sure if I'll be able to get all of it covered because there's quite a few events to go through, and I need to explain what everything's doing as well. So in here I'm going to rename this to is left punching, and I'm going to create a new variable, name that is right punching. Keep this nice and simple. Get that, we're going to add a blend pin here, and this blend pin is going to have a new layer set up. We're going to add a branch filter, set that to, you guessed it, clavicle R, and it's got mesh space already, and then we're going to plug this right punching to the blend weights, just like the left punch. And we're going to need a little bit of space for right animation. Come in here. Now these two should all blend happily together. And in the event graph, we need to set both of these. Oh no, we're going to want to branch. And if this left punching is true, we'll set it to false. And then again, if is right punching true, we're going to set it no, the anim notifier is going to reset it anyway, it's end punch, isn't it? So let's add in an anim notify. We go to the animations, and this is the left punch, so let's, can I rename it? No, not from here. Okay, that can just be the left punch, and in the right punch we'll delete that, add new notify, and right punch. In fact, I may as well change the name now. I think that can just be done in here. Yes, rename that to left punch. Okay, so I had some issues renaming an anim notify, and I had to reload the project. So I've added in a new notify. I've renamed the old end punch notify. So this should look like this in here, and in the character I duplicated the left hit capsule and I reversed its X axis and parented it to the hand R instead. And is that all different? I think that's all that's different. That should look like that. And I plugged in the is right punching variable to the right mouse button there.